Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Salahgic and 5-pillar practice. This is part 2 of grounding ourselves in Salah. So in the last episode, I discussed a little bit about harmonizing ourselves with nature, realizing that we are not separate from nature, in fact, and that some of the benefits and purposes behind standing in prayer barefoot and placing the 7 bones to bare earth, especially the soles of the feet and the tips of the toes, the palms, and the forehead in particular, which is also kind of interesting because when we're over bare earth, then our chest region and our diaphragm is directly over the earth and absorbing that energy, that earth force energy, which is quite beneficial, I think. So another aspect I want to talk about, like a lot of times when we're thinking about things and we're reading reality, reading the inner and the outer, we want to kind of flip things around and look at things from different angles, because that's part of the holistic approach that is the actual Islamic way from my perspective, the prophetic path of purification and perfection, the path of spiritual maturation, of beautification and excellence making. Maybe making isn't the right way of putting it, but experiencing and expressing excellence. And so one of the things that we want to talk about is when we're talking about earthing and grounding. Remember, we were talking about the surface of the earth and the immediate vicinity, the immediate locality, the environment within an ecosystemic framework, within the ecosystemic context, our placement in space and time, our spacing in time and place. So, as you may have heard me say in a number of videos before, we are quite literally made of the same stuff that is all around us. You know, we are made of sacred soil, sacred kun-created soil, of sacred kun-created living water, of sacred kun-created clay. And we are imbued and soaked in ruh. I like that phrasing, soaked in ruh. You know, and it's interesting because ruh is related to the breath and to being animated and enlivened and alive and, here and now, present. And it's interesting that when we breathe, we are breathing in not merely oxygen, but we're breathing in water vapor. So we're breathing in water, which is a mercy. This is quite fascinating to me. So based on the fact that we are the same stuff as everything around us, and you are the place where the two seas meet. There are many ways of reading this conceptualization. And I consider this to be one of the most, there's so many profundities within the Quran that we have barely scratched the surface in its readings, in understandings, in comprehension and experiences of. But where the two seas meet, consider that your nose bone is the stone where the two seas meet. You are breathing in this oxygen and water vapor, and you are breathing out carbon dioxide. You are breathing out waste product, which then feeds the plant life all around us as they are feeding us the oxygen. We have a symbiotic relationship with the environment all around us. And so we live within verdancy. We breathe it in. We are a mobile tree, and we are in a symbiotic relationship with the trees, with the plants. We are a mobile plant. We are a mobile garden, in fact, under which rivers flow, these sacred living waters that course through us. This saline sea with a freshwater stream coursing through it in some very interesting ways. So we'll discuss this conceptualization more, but during Salah, when you are present and mindful and appreciative, aware of being embodied, of this gift of embodiment, this gift of having this wondrous frame, this physical frame that is not separate from the mental framework. Because everything that you eat, everything that you do physically has an impact on your mind, on your emotional well-being, your sensory apparatus, your worldview, your experience and expression within the world. Everything is interconnected. So, being in Salah, we should be aware of the breathing, the in-breath, the out-breath. We should be aware of the body sensations through the body. We should be aware of the pulse points. Now, I'm not saying all at once. There are going to be points where on deeper levels you will be able to read your bodily framework. And there's also a point where you leave it off. But I would argue that part of worship is the appreciation of this creation in order to appreciate the Creator and to honor Him. So we're very present, and that's why we go as present and deep into the Salah as possible. Rooted in this local environment, rooted in this natural earth, inshallah. And the environment, the social environment, in communal prayer. But we should pray alone in nature at times as well. I think this is highly beneficial. You know, it's nice to pray in the garden, in a garden, or in our backyards, on bare earth, on bare soil. It's quite beneficial. So, to observe the expansion of the chest and the diaphragm, and the contraction of the diaphragm and the chest, the pulsation, the pulse points at the wrists and the ankles and the tops of the feet, the tops of the hands, the palms and the soles, the jugular, the temples, at these various pulse points where blood is coursing through. And remember, blood is carrying oxygen and waste. So it's this stream is moving through our sea of soil, our sea of water. And it's also, I would argue that another way of looking at grounding practice is becoming embodied. Be embodied right here and right now. In order to read the outer and the inner correctly and properly and deeply and closely, it is very important to be very present in your body, because you're not just reading with your sense doors. You're not just observing the horizon and the plants and the creatures around you with your eyes. You're also observing them with your ears. You're observing them with your olfactory nerves, with your smell, with your taste on subtle levels. The filtration of the nose and the mouth is just, there's also a deeper way that we read within the heart region, where the heart and the lungs are located. And so we have other ways of reading on the breath. We are reading with our breath. This is quite interesting. This is a deeper level. We're also reading energetically. And we need to be present, and we also need to be able to observe our emotional reactions, our intellectual reactions. We observe our reactivity. This is a deeper level of the spiritual path. And right now, this is why we have to go through the holistic Tawbah and Tazkiyah process as thoroughly, as completely, as thoroughgoingly as possible, because we're facing the great slaughter, the Malhama al-Kubra. And so it's very important, and there is a prophesied remnant. There is a remnant that is to survive this, to hold out to the finish. And we need to do everything we can to survive and thrive and protect our loved ones and maintain our genetic integrity and our full human expression, our complete human expression as best we can, which includes our ability to reason, utilize logic, our ability to read the outer and the inner directly, experientially, to intuit, to utilize and practice intuitive reason, to be present, to be mindful, to be appreciative, to be among those, the people of appreciation. This is very important and very beneficial, and we need to survive. So I would argue that this grounding practice of becoming as embodied as possible, as present as possible, is not only beneficial, but absolutely necessary and truly critical at this time. It's a matter of life and death. And so if you feel this in your bones, if you feel this in your gut, if you have tendencies toward this process of Tova and Tezkiah, which I will discuss in more detail, because, like, if you come into knowledge, if Allah guides you into various insights through experience, through study, and then you see that there are others not speaking on these matters and not warning others, then you actually have an obligation. This is the prophetic path. This is the path of Islam. And this is the time of, in the Christian world, they call this the time of the great delusion, the time of the great deception. And we know that this is time of Dajjal. Dajjal is the deceptor. He is the deceiver. And so this is the satanic era, and the Satanists invert everything. So if you see them moving toward a model of modification, of manipulation, toward a model of synthetic, fake artificiality, toward an unnatural, inorganic expression as a model for maturation of humanity, and as a model of a paradisical way of living, then we need to, those are actually inversions because they're Satanists. So we right side them up, and we utilize Quranic correctives to read them and practice properly. And this is a way of also recognizing, wow, we missed a lot of key information. This is where along with a lot of silent sitting and long silent sajda, Allah brought me into insight regarding the path of Adam alayhi salam, and this garden-like expression, this garden living, which then, it's very powerful. And we need to get into a natural way of living. We need to be grounded. We need to absorb healthy earth force and harmonize with the earth. We need to protect the ecosystems. We need to protect ourselves, our children, our wives, our families. We need to protect our social networks, but we also need to protect all of humanity, and we need to protect the weak, the vulnerable, the innocent, the children, the infants, the fetuses, the elders. We need to protect our manhood and our womanhood. We need to protect our humanity. We need to protect our ecosystem. We need to protect the innocent creatures who don't have a voice and don't have a protector. This is one of the reasons why we have to live as the most ethical and pure lifestyles possible. As if we are in the garden, as if you are just a few steps away from re-entering the garden. What kind of energetic state do you think you need to be in? What kind of an emotional and intellectual state do you need to be in order to enter the garden? This is not about rule following. This is about observing natural law, however, and harmonizing therewith to the greatest of our abilities. So let's do our best to practice grounding, earthing, centering, through barefoot, through Salah, on bare earth, on bare sand, by spending time in nature, by becoming as embodied and present within the body as possible, really observing our reactivity and our connections there. Learn how to read the outer and the inner, and utilize your body, which is very high tech. It is the highest tech possible. It's like, this is like, we don't need anything to be embedded within us. You are already, we have not attained our true organic maturation yet. We have not attained our true intellectual maturation, our true intuitive maturation, our true spiritual maturation, our true spiritual evolution, which is not linear. It's right here and right now. The straight path is right here in this very moment, to be truly embodied and present in this very breath, this very moment. To be present, to be mindful, to be appreciative, to respect and honor the Creator and worship the Creator by honoring His creation, by respecting His creation, by protecting it. Honor our bodily and genetic integrity. Honor our humanity. This is how we honor our Lord. So give this some thought. Please share your experiences and your thoughts in the comments. We are currently seeking to inspire one another and encourage one another. And we want to see as many excellent humans make it through this time as possible and survive this storm and this onslaught. This is the great slaughter. This is the Malhama. And we need to be ready to be ready. And we need to be present right now. So continue to prep, but don't just prep food stores and water. Be prepared to go to Tawakkul and go wherever the guide sends you. The guide most high, the protector, the teacher, the purifier, the forgiver, the Lord of all worlds, truth, absolute truth, the Lord of all worlds, the master of the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyway, you are loved, you are appreciated, and until next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.